All right. Welcome to Contemplative Writing with Kristina Amelong, Awaken the New Species with Barbara Marx Hubbard's 52 Codes for Conscious Self-Evolution, a process of metamorphosis to realize our full potential self. And that is what we're inviting us each to lean into in this we space that is continually emergent, and here for as much support as we can give each unique person to step into the full creativity that their life is calling them towards. So to begin, we shall bow. Let us do that now. We welcome all energies that want to come into this space, whether they are peaceful and loving or whether they are full of rage and anger or despair. But anything that wants to be shared here is welcome here. And one of the next things that we do is to well, let's do housekeeping first. So, Allie, go ahead.
Okay, first I just wanted to make you a little bit familiar with the controls of Zoom. While this class is going on, it would be very helpful if you could manage your own muting, and the muting button is located in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. So when you're not talking and other people are talking, to avoid background noises, we ask that you mute your mic. Also, another thing to...
So go ahead and each person do that now. All right, and in the public, right now you can go ahead and unmute, but we just wanted to make sure that everybody can do that. All right, thank
Awesome.
you, Allie.
In the upper right-hand corner, there is the viewing switchovers. You can switch from speaker view to gallery view. We recommend that you use gallery view so that you can see everybody during this conference, but it's really your preference. So if you wanted to play around with that for a second.
Does anybody have any questions about that function?
No.
Awesome.
All right. All right. So thank you, Allie. So as some of you know, I'm working on helping us feel each other more deeply through sound. And one of the ways that I'm trying to do that is to have us each put sound into this environment together. Toning is a wonderful way to do that, where we can all share our presence, share our voice, and that's fine. Whoever wants to, who's starting, that's great. And so what we want to do is to be full-bodied, full voice, so we can hear each other. And also I will start, so we kind of lead. I lead in a tone, and we try to match that tone so that we can get some resonance in this space. And I'll go for about a minute, and I will go like this to quiet us, just so you know that you have that safe container to pull out play, whether your eyes are open, your eyes are closed. And we will begin now. Let me set the timer just so I can, okay, whoops, cancel, start, okay. Thank you. That was fun. It's a little harder to hear everyone without my headset, I noticed. Can people hear each other that want to say their experience? Nobody? Okay. We shall move on. All right. So the next thing is that we are going to just talk a little bit about what is contemplative writing. So contemplative writing is an ancient tradition. A lot of the Christian mystics practiced it. Thomas Merton, Teresa of Avila, and Natalie Goldberg. She's a Zen Buddhist. She and Julia Cameron really have popularized it through things like morning pages and for Natalie writing down the bones. But it's this process of just putting pen to paper and writing to a prompt, or writing to whatever is arising in the body. So trying to parallel that universal structure of consciousness arising in the moment, and then putting that creative effort on paper. And so the things to remember during the writing time is, as much as possible. Oh, is it a little hard to hear me, Allie? Is this better? You're on mute, hon, so I can't hear you. So, and keep telling me if it's hard to hear me. So we want to keep writing the whole time, even if you end up saying things like, I hate this, or this is stupid, or I can't stand this. It doesn't matter what's coming. Everything and anything that you want to write is welcome and wonderful. And often it's those places that we're resisting ourselves that are really trying to open up to deeper places within. So again, keep writing throughout the whole time. I think we'll go about 12 to 15 minutes today because of the number of people. And use the senses as much as you can. I feel, I taste, I hear, I smell. Those are great things to also come back to in addition to the prompt. And then also original detail, things that are very specific to you, to your environment, to the way that you see things. That is also really helpful. So to close on this teaching, you're full of stories, and your stories are sacred. And it seems that it is so important to the evolution of the universe that our stories are shared with each other. So on that note, we will enter into the prompt, unless anybody has any questions. I guess, Vicki, you're really the only new person here. So are you good? Do you have paper and pen? Does everybody have paper and pen? All right, wonderful.
Did you want to meditate today?
Oh, I forgot about meditation. So before we get going, we'll do that. And the one thing that I wanted to say is that we are recording, and if anyone wants theirs to be confidential, we can cut that out, because I want you to know as you're writing that this is a confidential and safe space. So also, when people refer to writing, if that comes up for you, it's really great to do things like I heard, or I, just don't reference the person that has written the piece. So even though we're trying to share this with the broader community, we also want to honor safety at every level. So Allie has held the meditation space, so I will let you lead on that, sweetheart.
Okay, I will ding the bowl to begin, and then we'll have a 5-minute meditation, and I'll ding the bowl to bring you back out of it. So, if you're ready.
Thank you, Allie. Thank you for that. Welcome back, everyone. All right. So today's prompt is code 33. And you're welcome to start writing as soon as you want. So we have 7 people. And so yeah, let's write for Alan, you can set the time for like 16 minutes. And here is the prompt. Code 33. Come forward as a new norm, not as superior or exceptional. When you come forward as a new norm in a way of sharing the experience rather than acting superior, you trigger the experience in others. If you come forward as superior, others will be offended or will idolize you, and you will not be able to serve them. Learning how to come forward as a capital whole, capital being, a new model available to all, is the practice you are undertaking. All right, so we'll write for 16 minutes, and then we'll have a 5-minute break for you to complete your writing or to use the bathroom or whatever you need to do. And then we will go ahead and talk about feedback a little bit, so don't be worrying about that while you're writing, and then go ahead and share for those who want to share and give feedback. So see you all soon.
You now have 5 minutes to finish up your writing, take a break, get comfortable, get a glass of water, whatever you need in the space. And I'll ding the bell when that 5 minutes is up.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Anybody have anything burning to say about their writing process that they'd like to share?
Yeah, it went really fast. I was surprised. Last week I was thinking, oh no, how can I write for that long? And this time the bell went off and it's like, wow, that was fast. So that was
Fantastic,
good.
Lynn. Thank you. Vicki, did you have something?
Well, that was the same thing for me. I thought, wow, it just flew by, and maybe I need to continue this after we're done today because I was getting into this really great story.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear it. All right. So let me just give a few points about feedback. I think the feedback process in many ways is core to what we're working to unfold with each other in terms of, I know for myself, and I see it a lot with students, that monkey mind, the reptilian brain, that part of us that doubts and is so harsh on us, it's just going all the time. So when we read out writing out loud, we get to hear for ourselves what it sounds like. And then when people give the direct feedback of the writing, it often opens us up to the deeper elements of the writing in such a way that helps us move forward and re-enter the writing. So the things about feedback that are really helpful is to, and we have that handout in the documentation that we send in the email, so you all can look at that. But if we stick to the writing itself, like as much as possible, we're giving feedback. I mean, it's fine that we have our own memories pop up based on people's writing, but even so, what we're trying to do is reflect the experience of the writing. So using the I statements, making sure that we're not holding judgments, but rather like, I felt sad when I heard you talk about your dad. Don't then go into your own dad, but just, that really was deep for me, is all great and fine, but we're still staying on the writing. And know that this feedback process really is an art. And again, we have the same kind of monkey mind voices going in our heads as we try to reflect for others what we're hearing. I find it very helpful to take notes as I'm listening to people so that I have references. And you're going to miss a little bit of what people say, but then you have specifics from the writing that you can reference. So I highly recommend taking notes and on reiterating about confidentiality. So when you're reading, read slowly, and even more slowly than you think you should be reading, and make sure it's loud enough. And also, if someone can't hear, go ahead and interrupt and we can start a person over again, but it's core that everybody can hear each other clearly. And you can read the whole thing of your work, or you can read parts of it. And of course, you don't have to read if you don't want to, but we all welcome you to read. And listen from the heart. Notice words that repeat, colors, things that really just hold the work together with the prompt. So with that, we will stay together. We have over, I don't know, what time is it? 1:45. Okay, great. So who would like to start? Anyone have a burning desire? Vicki, is that you? Are you wanting to start?
Since I knew my desire wasn't burning except to be quiet.
That's fine.
I don't know. I don't have, I know a little bit more about what you all have been doing because I watched last week's on YouTube. So.
Oh, fantastic. Do you want to start? I was just looking at your face, but you don't have to.
Well, the thing is that what I saw was, and sometimes people just read a sentence here and there, that you read a couple of sentences that made you really happy, and you were sharing that. Mine is more like a story that I was writing. And so I guess I'll just read the beginning and then I'll skip to the end. Okay.
Well, so I want to just, because I'm hearing things that maybe aren't 100% accurate. So in the feedback process, when people give feedback, it's often very helpful to repeat little bits that you heard. But in terms of your piece, you are so welcome to read the whole piece. And my understanding and memory, everyone's read their whole piece. Okay. So we want to hear the whole of your piece, but it's totally up to you.
Okay.
Okay. And one thing before we all get started, you know, like I said, all that monkey mind, all that reptilian brain wanting to be critical of us, whenever you're starting to write, really set that down. Don't explain, don't critique your work, just enter into reading. And Vicki, lead us off. Wish.
Okay.
And here, so you guys know, I'm going to go ahead and put it in speaker view because I like that better. But that's up to you, so I can just really look at Vicki's face.
Okay. This feels like something that I was prepared for when I had my last session with Kristina. I saw a slideshow of my past lives where I was rich, important, in charge, a leader. Each of these just morphed from one to the next, and some females and some males. One stood out for a while where I was a duke and or a Templar in the Middle Ages, and I was so very proud of having my coat or jacket trimmed in ermine. I knew that this was an item that would tell everyone that I was very rich and important. I didn't have it for that reason. I just loved to stroke this amazing fur. It reminded me in this lifetime I was very privileged. I could still remember other lives, maybe the prior life, that I was in abject poverty. And I had promised myself that when I was at the other end of that spectrum, I would remember how I had been treated and mistreated, and I was committed to justice and truth. I would treat my subjects and all those around me with respect. I would do my best to help end suffering and the causes of suffering. And each and every time I stroked this ermine, I reminded myself of that. It was a great reminder of softness, tenderness, and warmth. As a Templar, I took an oath to help those less fortunate and protect them from evil. Wow, weird. I was committed to making sure my subjects had sufficient and good food, adequate shelter, and good or adequate clothing.
Take your time. It's okay.
Since I traveled extensively, I also was committed to fighting injustice wherever I went. My life was ideal. I wanted for nothing. I enjoyed myself and made friends easily. I shared stories of my adventures and people laughed and oohed and awed and shared some of their own. These were great times. I'm going to skip the next paragraph. In regards to today's code, in most of these lives, I was a fair ruler, leader. I truly cared for my people, and I didn't feel superior. I often felt lucky to be in such a position to influence so many lives, and I never forgot my commitment. It seems far away to me, even now,
how people respond to others with wealth and position. I understand what insight into my many lives, into my norm, and how my creating my new norm without judgment and with humility as I step into this new energy.
Thank you very much for reading. Would
Thank
you
you.
like feedback?
Yes.
All right. Who would like to give feedback first?
I would.
Go ahead, Patty.
Listening and mostly seeing and feeling you in your emotions when you're talking about that life and that story. And then going at the end, the new norm. To me, what I got is your new norm is merely remembering what you've already experienced and embodying that experience and being. And kind of like something I've heard this week a lot is, it already is, we're just catching up to it.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Patty.
you for that story.
Thank you, Patty. Next.
I can go next. I just
Great.
wrote down snippets of what you said, talking about being a Duke or Templar, and that you felt rich and important, even though it wasn't the feeling rich and important that was kind of important. But she loved that stroking the fur, and that brought back all kinds of other memories. And going back to times when you weren't treated as well, where you were on the poorer side, and remembering that and bringing that remembrance to your other life so that you could have work with justice and protect, so everybody had sufficient and good food, clothing, and shelter, and that you were fighting for justice. And we're a fair ruler and lucky to influence the lives, and that creating your new norm without judgment and with humility.
Thank
So
you,
that was
Lynn.
great. And I really like the weaving in of all of the different lives into the story, so that was great.
Thank you.
I'd like to go.
Valley.
Vicky, thank you for sharing with us. That was really fun to hear about your past lives. Oh my goodness. You sound, I would want to be ruled under you. That sounds great. I really loved also the point where you pointed out you were proud, and but like the power wasn't what you were proud of. You were proud of being able to like help people in that moment where you stroked the fur and just like it feeling good. Like that's nice. That's and I love how through your lives you were sharing stories of your adventures and consistently creating the story, like what is that story? And you're creating the story right now. What's your story? And you've included all of these pasts. And that's a beautiful facet to your story. All of your lives, I imagine, like this gem, and there are multiple facets on this gem. And then when the light reflects through it, it creates that beautiful rainbow that is your essence.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, Allie. Melissa, did you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. I like the way that you started and you said it was a slideshow, and then you pulled us into that slideshow and we got to experience it with you. I like the fact that you said some of your lives were females and some male, and that's going to lead up to my ending comment for you. But I liked, just like Allie, and you're stroking the fur and you're just happy just to be there in that moment and feel good. You were committed to justice and truth to end suffering and the causes of suffering in that life. And then you're just stroking the fur to remind yourself of that, to bring yourself back to that. And then your tears. To me, the tears that you were experiencing represent like a deep resonance with all of us and yourself as well, and connecting with those lives in that moment. And for me, when I get the tears, it's like remembering all at once, like, yes. It's like this truth just washes over you and you can't help but cry. So I recognize that, and I just wanted to point that out. So all of this, I felt like the balance of your lives, the different, male and female, or poor or rich, they all, they balance out so that in this new energy, in this life, there's no superiority. There's just you and everyone else, and doing what you can to make everything a good place. So that balance for me was perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Christine, do you want to give any feedback?
Yes. Vicki, I was amazed at how varied and many were your lives, and how one seemed to incorporate the other, and how I had a feeling that as you lived your very different lives, you remembered what it was like the last time, and you brought them all together. And as Melissa said, you brought them all together as to who you are now and what is important. And you stated beautifully what was important in each of those lives, and how you have become who you are. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So Vicki, I felt so much bravery on your behalf that you just jumped in with exposing yourself this way. And I'm so excited for you and us that you're here and writing with us. And the way that right away from the very first sentence, this feels like something I was preparing for, and how you're showing how as we come into wholeness, we are threading through the past, right, into our future, and then how those tears and how us listening to you really, I feel like, help synergize all of those lifetimes into you, into us. And I've had similar experiences, and I haven't written about them much, so you've given me more courage to do that. So thank you. And I too, I love when you said I was so very proud. That's how I feel in my body. I was so very proud. And the stroking of the amazing fur, that ermine, and you taking an oath. I just like, from the very little knowing you, I just am so happy that we are on this path together. Thank you very much. And then, would you like to say anything about your writing or this process?
I wanted to join this writing group because I've been struggling with the Tuesday night sessions with Barb, because I felt okay. So I'll just say I just have felt stupid most of the time, because I very interested in the topic. But when she talks a lot of time, I'm like, I'm working really hard at this all the time, but I'm not getting, I'm not even having anything to be able to say to join that conversation, except just being there. And I'm being there, because I'm interested. And so I thought, well, maybe that's just not my thing to say something. Maybe if I tried writing something, I could feel more connected. So that's the reason I joined this group. And I had no idea, when I wrote the story, it was just what was flowing from me. But when I was reading it and I started crying, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it felt so real. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
You're very, very welcome. Welcome and thank you. Are you complete now?
Yes, I'm complete.
All right. Who would like to read next? Christine, you've got some sound coming through there, so if you want to read, go ahead, but otherwise mute yourself. You want to read?
I might as well. That wasn't the plan, but I will be happy to.
All right, you go, girl.
As a new norm, with complete humility, that is how it has to be if I am going to be of help and inspiration. Humility is something I didn't understand properly until I was about 40 years old. Of course, I thought I was humble, but it was not true. Listening to others rather than having to speak has taught me the blessings that come with humility. And with these blessings helping me along, I feel that I am coming forth as a new norm. And as a new norm with humility, what has also been a gift is the being of service to others. I truly believe that serving others has brought me more joy than any other endeavor. I can feel that joy as I teach young people a new language. I do this now in my 7th decade, as it truly brings me so much pleasure, and I feel that I am being of service in a small way. I now have 3 students a week, which is all I can manage with my other business. To 2 young boys, I am teaching French, and to a young woman, Italian. Nothing superior or exceptional, just a sharing of some things I have learned throughout my life. I hear it in their voices when we can converse in the new language. I see it in their eyes when they can spit it out with perfect pronunciation. I am particularly grateful as these few students want to learn. Nothing they have to do, just something they want to do on their own. Perhaps one or more of them will one day have the joy that they give to me by offering their new skills to someone else. Nothing exceptional, nothing superior, just a true sharing which not only teaches but gives pleasure to all involved.
Thank you, Christine. Would you like feedback? All right. Open the floor to give feedback to Christine. Vicki?
Yes. Thank you very much for sharing. A single gem when you were first talking just really struck me, that you had said something about wanting to be humble but saw that you weren't, but listening is what brought you to that. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. What an insight. I wrote that down with stars around it to keep that in top of mind. And in addition, the serving others brings joy and pleasure. to think of, we think of serving others in a lot of other ways, but that for the joy and pleasure that I can get of that. Thank you very much for putting it in that context. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Vicki. Patty?
What I liked about what you wrote is your description of what a new norm would look like for you. And so some things that I wrote down was humility, being of service by sharing your gifts, things that you love, tapping into giving what people want and are looking for, and making the point it's not something they have to do, but want to do. So everything you described is in content of doing what only you want to do and what feels good, and other people doing what they want to do and feels good. Sounds like a great recipe for a new norm. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Melissa?
Okay, like the others, I have lots of stars next to listening to others rather than having to speak, and then your gifts of sharing with others, and that service to others, but it also brings joy to you, so that service equals joy not only for you but for the students, and that spoke to me. I have students as well, little ones, and so when that light bulb goes off, for me is like this brilliant, like, yeah, I did that, or we did that, together, and it just feels so good. So I felt that with you as you were talking about your students using the language and doing it just because they want to, because that is so important. I liked how you called it. It was just a sharing of things that you learned. Easy, just a sharing, and it was fun and it felt good. And I love the ending, a true sharing that not only teaches but gives pleasure to all involved. And that seems to me the way that we're going, right? If we're all sharing and all bringing each other pleasure, that's the new norm, working together. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I can go next. I also like that you were listening not to speak, that made you humble. And then teaching these people, and then knowing that you were having an effect on them by the way that they were responding and the way that they were seeing things and hearing things, and being able to respond back in the language that you were teaching them. And I liked you when you were saying nothing exceptional, nothing superior. So that was great sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allie?
Hi, Christine. I also thought it was very poetic how you would add in nothing exceptional, nothing superior. I love how you started off from from describing what humility was to you and your journey with humility. I think that that's powerful, especially looking at the code, not as superior, not as exceptional. Like, there's a lot of humility in that. And then you took us through your journey about spreading the gift of language, which is awesome. Language is something that, like, we constantly use to express our experiences. And so giving someone a more colorful palette to express their experience in that way, that's a beautiful gift. And I love the way you described it. I hear it in their voices. I see it in their eyes as well. I don't have very much teaching experience, but I can feel personally, like when I'm learning something, like that moment when it clicks, and being able to witness that and like hold someone in that moment. I could feel it in your writing. That was a really nice place to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Christine, I reiterate that line. Well, first, how you kept the rhythm of speaking about humility and the new norm. And I also reiterate the line, listening to others instead of having to speak. And I love that you put out that you're in your 7th decade. Yes, go. And I enjoyed the details around your students that you talked about, because right away I was curious, like, what language is she teaching them? And so then you talked about French, and you talked about Italian, and then you talked about hearing the language in their voices and seeing it on their faces as you guys exchanged. That was a beautiful moment for me. And that last line about true sharing that Melissa iterated. So thank you very much. And would you like to say anything?
Just thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm fine.
You're welcome. Thank you, Christine. I'll read. All right. Can everybody hear me fine? Learning how to come forward. Shut up, my stepfather, Dick, said. During my childhood, every dinner table, every Sunday morning, as my mom, Jay, and I looked at the fat morning newspaper. I remember driving with Dick on a Saturday afternoon after I fetched him his 10th Huber beer of the day, holding the cold, wet brown bottle by its neck, walking up from the basement refrigerator. It's the last one, I said. Let's get in the truck, he said. This happened on hundreds of Saturday afternoons, over and over again. This happened for a little girl. Jay, Dick, and I piled into the truck. We stopped in the parking lot of the liquor store, which happened to also be next door to Noah's Ark Pet Center. Jay and I jumped out of the blue Ford pickup truck, rushed into the pet store as Dick headed into the liquor store for a new case of Huber beer. Noah's Ark, wall after wall of fish tanks glowed in the dark room. I pressed my face against the tank of angelfish, black and white triangles floating in the water. Jay stared into the tanks on the floor, full of feeder goldfish. The door of the pet store opened, ringing the bell above the door. Kids, get in the truck, now. I ran forward, Jay behind me. We jumped into the truck. Dick pulled out of the black-top parking lot, drove 1 block, past the stoplights, and drove up onto the lawn, off the lawn, on the lawn, as we drove down Sherman Avenue. Jay and I completely silent. Later, I told my mom. Even later, I heard them fighting. That's ridiculous, he screamed at her. You are going to get all of us killed, she yelled back. She is lying, he said, as I went into my bedroom, kneeled at my bed, and prayed. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Come forward. So many moments of trying to come forward. It is scary, dangerous, loud, this thing inside of me telling me to be quiet. Do not speak. Do not tell your stories. Yet, There's something even louder, something more whole, something emergent. And I will take feedback. I lost my pen. Who would like to go?
I can go.
All right, Melissa.
First of all, just beautiful description. I really appreciate the description in the writing because I'm right there with you that whole time. I'm like holding your hand or just another little kid tagging along behind and watching. And I appreciate being able to be pulled in like that and be there with you. It's very powerful. That was the first thing that struck me, and it kept going throughout. I also appreciate your truth, your honesty about that scene. And it resonated a lot with me, the conflict, and you just kind of having to sit back from that conflict and watch it. And I could sense maybe you wanted to be in it, but you kind of knew better. And I've been there too, so I appreciate that honesty and you sharing that.
Welcome.
I also, especially at the end, you were saying you had a voice that was telling you, do not speak, do not tell your stories. I think a lot of us have that from our past or from past lives or wherever it comes from, that monkey mind. Do not let that out because that's going to put you in fear and danger. Yet there's something stronger pulling, something emergent that's pulling you forward into this new norm that we talked about. So yeah, it was just a brilliant story. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
May I say a few words?
Please.
I think you started out with shut up, and it carried through your whole story. As Melissa has said, having to be quiet, not being able to tell your feelings, not being believed. It was beautiful the way is that called stream of consciousness? I'm not quite sure, but it sounds right. And your descriptions are wonderful. I mean, the fish and the lights and the colors. And I think we've all been involved with parents who drank too much sometimes, maybe not all, but I was. And so I could feel that going on the lawn and off the lawn and back on the lawn. And it was a wonderful story. You write beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, I can go next. Like everybody said, it was a great story and all about learning how to come forward. And that I like that the beer journey led you to the pet store so that you can go and have some fun while the beer purchasing was going on, and you hovered over the tank where the angelfish were. And then again, the scary, dangerous, and loud, and do not speak. And then in the end, it really did, learning how to come forward, you really did do that by having something emergent come up. So the whole process of the whole story, weaving in and out of how to come forward, at the end, it seems like you are coming forward and being emergent. So that was a great story. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I
Patty.
can go next.
Okay, go ahead.
Your writing reminded me, your writing is so vibrant. I saw it as a movie.
Oh.
And you hooked me with Shut Up. It was so strong that it was like a slap in the face to pay attention. And it really set a tone for your movie. Then some of the words that you used caused such this contrast of how you were reacting to it. So I loved, because we can all see the evil and the horror and, the danger in what you were saying. but just the word angelfish, I thought what Lynn said, what it really did make such a contrast. It was dramatic. And I love the internal urgings, because no matter what happens to us in our lives, we have these internal urgings, and your bravery in following them. So thank you very much for sharing with us. It needs to be a movie.
Thank you, Vicki. Patty or Allie?
I'm not sure that I have. I might not be able to share.
Are you crying about the piece or something else?
The pain of that experience. I've been a child protection social worker, and it's the most traumatic job I've ever had. And so I can see the places that you found any amount of lightness in the dark, the angelfish, just going into the serenity of that store in such a comparison of where Dick went. But the emotion for me of that whole experience, it's like I was in that body. I haven't had that kind of traumatic, I've had my own traumatic experience, but I never could cry for it before. And maybe that's what your story allowed.
Thank you.
I can think about it, but not emotionally release it. So,
but there you are doing that.
You are a wonderful writer, and might I say, in the end, when you were praying and saying, and certainly I know you can't tell the truth, don't tell the truth, don't be creative, don't rock the boat, don't be all you can be. You are doing that now. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, Allie.
Kristina. So going into the depths of your writing has always been a journey, and thank you for taking us on this one. I really loved how you described holding the cold, wet bottle from the neck. I know you didn't say in this writing, but in other writings of yours, you have described how terrifying the getting beer from the basement was for you. And so starting out with that journey, it was like, ooh, okay, like it's going up from here, you know? I thought that the divine was kind of weaved throughout your writing when there were these moments of control over you and that sort of thing. You found the angelfish as a piece, and you prayed while your parents were fighting, and like weaving that in was nice how it carried you through this time of hardness where you wanted to speak up, and you even did speak up, and then you were told that you were wrong or lying. Like, that's hard, but your voice still came through, and it continues to come through. And I relate with the moments of trying to come forward and voices pushing you back, but still needing, like, something's pulling you forward and you need to continue, even though it's scary sometimes. So thank you.
Thank you, Allie. I just love this process, and I love sharing what I write, and I love having to be part of my life week after week, day after day, year after year. So thank you for honoring me with your presence. And, you know, just things like pointing out the power of the angelfish choice, which there's many other kinds of fish in the fish store, right? But for me to sort of organically pick angelfish, and then how that means more than it is in that moment, but how I'm just organically doing that. That is such a gift to a writer, to have that kind of thing reflected back. So thank you for helping me create this safe space. So much healing can happen together. Just honor each of us. All right, I'm complete. And who would like to read next?
I'll go. Hopefully I can talk.
All right, Patty.
My new norm, what does that look like? I am listening more than talking. I am authentically sharing my truth. I am seeing the and in what used to be either or. I am seeing through the lens of possibility. I am doing only what I want to do and what feels good. I love what I do, and I do what I love. I remember that people are always doing their best in any given moment. I am seen through the lens of who I really am. I am in communities that are finding solutions through win-win-win dialogue. I am living in transparency. I am involved in groups that are operating through collaboration, cooperation, and partnership. I am being what I want to experience in the world. I am appreciative of myself and how I am contributing to this transition of a new species. The end.
Thank you, Patty. Would you like feedback?
Sure.
All right.
I can go. I just wrote down again snippets that listening, authentic, seeing the end, possibility, and you'll love what you do and do what you love. And you can see through the lens of who you really are. And I liked it when you said win-win-win, because you had that extra win there, and that you see yourself contributing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Patty, will you read that last sentence over again?
I am appreciative of myself and how I am contributing to this transition of a new species.
I love that last sentence. I think it really sums up it. You have a lot of I statements beforehand of the things that you're living into, and then how you at the end you add all of that into a big contribution potluck, and it's like, oh, the new species, eat up. It's awesome. Yeah, and I thought the sentence "seeing through the lens of possibility" that's a really pretty one. That's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allie.
I can go.
Go ahead, Vicki.
I see that listening is kind of a theme, that it's interesting how that as a group, even when we didn't say it out loud, that it can still come through. I love that. I felt like what you described was what the new norm is. You gave me a comparison, either or, and now possibility. So to me, that was the old and the new. And that passion is what's coming through, each person following their passion and becoming more of who they are. Felt like it's acceptable now in what you were saying. And the fact I got the new norm as collaboration, cooperation, partnership, and contribution. And I thought that was beautiful, because you know, I feel like that we're all being very careful to not limit the new norm. And I felt those words that you put together for that, for me, expanded the possibility of the new norm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Melissa?
Again, I noticed the theme that we all seem to have, listening more than talking. So I picked up on that right away, that we all are seeming, you know, in my own piece as well, are going in that direction. I really liked, instead of seeing one thing or the other, you see the and. The and, that stood out for me, because it's not one or the other. There's always something. What is it? It's the and. So you were right about that. The lens of possibility was another line that others have mentioned that I enjoyed. I also like the line that people are always doing their best at any given time. So to look at someone who's having a hard day and go, well, today they're doing the best they can in this day at this time, and to give them that respect rather than get angry. You know, I can stay calm. And I saw that within you. I can stay calm even though they're struggling because they're doing their best today. I noticed you mentioned groups a couple times, that you were in some groups. And I think for me, that meant like we all need others. Lots of times we're by ourselves and we're talking about things that we do when we're alone, yet the groups are important. And I picked up on that for you as well. Like the groups give us this, give us some strength as well. We get inner strength, but we get the strength from others. And the last thing was, I am being what I want to experience in the world. So that was perfect. I can really resonate with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Christine?
Yes, I guess it's my turn. I know I'm to speak of your writing, but I want to speak of you, if I may. Just to bring it together, it seems to me that you have found a way to be really who you want to be and do what you want to do with groups that you want to be with. And I think that's just really something to celebrate. And it certainly came through in your writing. Fascinating. I can't wait to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard that as a mantra, and with a deep rhythm that is in your body. And yes, the way that you're living, not just words that you're talking about. So even though there were words on the paper, they really felt very rooted in your whole being. So yes, listening more than talking. These are my truths. I remember people are always doing their best. I am in communities. I am living in transparency. I am being what I want to experience in the world. You go, sister. Anything you want to say to?
Yeah, that I have to say that when I read the code, it seemed to spend more time looking at what we didn't want for the new norm than what the new norm is. And we're moving into what we think now is unfamiliar, a new species, and hearing more about what that might look like or feel like is how we create it. So it was very nice to be seen and heard, because there's not a lot of places in my life other than this group that I can be so clear in speaking about what the world that I want to live in. So speaking it and then hearing that I actually was heard because I've only worked in government, and that's about don't tell the truth, don't be creative, don't rock the boat, don't be all you can be. And so it's refreshing to be seen and heard.
Yay!
So, thank you.
You're so welcome, Patty. Are you complete?
I am, thanks.
All right. Who would like to read next?
I can go next. So I have come forward as the new norm, not superior or exceptional. I guess I don't consider myself as superior or exceptional. I've been working, but working isn't really the right word. I've been contemplating becoming this, not superior or exceptional, for a while. I love that the Course in Miracles says that all acts are either a call for love or an act of love, no matter how unskilled. And it's this last part, no matter how unskilled, that helps me be with people at a different level. Seeing everyone with love, divine love, and compassion, accepting who they are. How can I carry this beingness this weekend? This extended family vacation that I was so looking forward to when Jessica recommended it. Remembering back to the last time we were all together, soon after Kathy died. And I'm surprised it's causing me tears. This was a fun vacation, spending time with everybody, doing the things I wanted. This weekend will be different. It's only Chris and Paul, Jessica, and the boys. I'll have fun with the boys. I'm affirming I will know what to say and do. Ariel saying she was going to a car show instead of the vacation brought up all of these feelings of disappointment I felt when others kept saying they couldn't go or really not responding at all. I thought I was over that. I'm shifting to fun and being there. I imagine Hershey has great chocolate smells. I'm hoping great food, including chocolate. Spending time with Joseph and Jason. Playing with bubbles and coloring. Being with children keeps me young. Remembering a time before I had all of this baggage of hurt and disappointment for myself and how I imagined others treating me. I've just made a decision to block off my calendar so no one can make appointments with me this weekend. I'm visualizing walking in the park. I'm adding my walking shoes to my list. Seeing green and colorful flowers. Hearing birds and other wildlife. The smells of nature. The warmth of the weather. Perfect weather. Perfect fun. Seeing everyone whole and complete, no matter how. And then I just ended, wow, that was fast, time's up.
Thank you very much. Would you like feedback, Lynn?
Yes, please.
I'll go.
Great.
I had some difficulty with my connection through some of your talk. But what I got was like a flash going back, forward, back, present, forward, back, in like flashing on some experience of how it used to be or situations in the past, and then flashing to imagination of what you would like to experience. And seeing yourself shifting to fun was a phrase that caught my attention. And like remembering remembering about all the parts of these different people that you enjoy and that brings you pleasure, and smiling, a smile on your face. And it just was kind of a popping around of, if I saw in colors, it would be colors, but just different feelings that each time you talked, I could feel that. And then you were here and I could feel that. And so much more light and joy and like music notes around the possibility of what you were going to experience. It was just kind of a fun, like being on a music page or something. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Lynn, I had fun with your piece. You have a conversational way of writing, which it's fun. You kind of like have a conversation with us and yourself through it. I might walk this weekend. Note to self, I'm packing walking shoes. It's like, yeah, prepared. I liked, there was a lot of emotion in your piece about the weekend, and then there was the feeling of disappointment, but then you switched it around with like this playful child side of what you could imagine your weekend being like, with the bubbles and the coloring and the chocolate smells. I love the chocolate smells. As soon as you said that, I was like, s'mores, yeah, okay. That really put me in a place. That was good. And I like how you took the initiative in your writing to block off your calendar for this weekend. I am someone who tries to accomplish a lot of things at once and sometimes overbook myself. And so when you said that, it really brought me to a space of wanting to be present for the weekend and for the experience and really connecting. And that's really lovely to hear. I think that sounds like a good new norm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Valley.
I can go.
Vicki.
When you started out, you talked about contemplating to becoming, and I felt like the entire piece was a lesson in coming forward from heartbreak. I heard the emotion about what happened the last time, and I heard you switch everything when you used the word fun. And then you gave a new great description of what things could be. And what I got was, it was also a lesson in compassion for ourselves and for others. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
I can go.
Melissa.
One of the first things that I wrote down was seeing everyone with love. Mm-hmm. And I think that carried through as you went talking about the people that are going to be there this weekend, and that you're going to try to see everyone with love through the disappointment, see them with love. I also noticed how there were a lot of emotions, and you went from that disappointment and then switched right into, someone said fun, or switched into that kind of like childlike wonder, as you described Hershey and the smells and the bubbles. And you kind of put yourself in that childlike state back to before you were disappointed. And that, I think that held you up. And it seemed like you just came out of that disappointment and going, I'm going to focus on this because this feels good. I like the visualizing of the smells and then the walk, because I think visualizing is creating. So in a way, your whole piece is creating your weekend for you. You're like working through it. And then in the end, you're like, oh, this is what I want. And this is what I'm thinking of. And this is what's going to happen because I make it so. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Christine.
Yes, hi there, Lynn. Even though you didn't use the word, or perhaps you did, I didn't catch it, new norm, it seems to me that that's what you've decided is going to happen, that you're growing in your new norm. And even though people around are perhaps not exactly what you wished, you understand that they're going to give you joy no matter what. And you're going to make that happen. And you're emerging as this person who has decided to have fun and to be prepared and to remember that there were disappointments. I think the last time you were with your family, perhaps there was a death or something that wasn't so very happy. But it was very obvious to me that you've made the decision and that you are emerging, and this is what your new norm is going to be. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So Lynn, what I want to reiterate is, yes, it was very interesting and powerful to watch your mind move between teachings like all acts are a call for love or an act of love, no matter how skilled, to diving into painful emotions. And that was a hot spot about the person who died, whose name I missed. I'm sorry, could you say the name again?
It was Kathy.
Kathy. So many blessings to Kathy and that journey. And that seems like a hot spot that I would encourage you to keep writing towards. And so to watch you sort of set a stage for yourself in your writing, and then to drop into the pain, and then to come into the present and figure out what parts of that were your own and what parts of that were going on in your outside environment was just really powerful. So I feel like the whole piece was really a model of that sentence from the Course in Miracles, you showing us how a person works through what does the unfolding of love and self-love look like. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Would you like to say anything?
Actually, I just let whatever over this past week that I have in the past had this tendency of sort of practicing. So I was sort of thinking about what I might say or thinking about what I might write and all of that. And every time I did, I stopped myself. So today I just decided whatever came to me when we started is what I was going to write about. And it just happened that like an hour before this, my niece Ariel said that she would rather go to a car show than the vacation weekend. And that just sent me back again. So,
Thank you.
But I'm really staying in the moment here, which is very unusual for me. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're with us.
Yeah,
All
me
right.
too.
Are you complete?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we've got Melissa and Allie.
I can go.
All right.
Who do you think you are? The words echo in my ears. Who do you think you are? You are Melissa, a girl, a woman, always a child, struggling to be a grown-up. Born and raised in Maine, you know hard work, you know poverty, you know hard times. Yet somehow you always manage to smile. Never judging, you look at others as though looking in a mirror. You see yourself in them, every single one. They are family, they are you. Who do you think you are? Never a superior, always equal. even with the children. That is your gift, to see the children as they truly are, wise old souls behind the mischievous eyes, just like you. Yet you are exceptional. Every human on this earth is exceptional. They may not see or understand it yet. You must see it for them. You don't have to teach it or preach it. You simply have to be it and hold the space. Laugh with them, love them, play and create with them. The earth is your playground, all of you. Look past judgment, look past hate. See worry for what it is. Look to the light within you all. For that is the truth you seek. That is the true you. Who do you think you are? You are a piece of God. You have been here and done this many times. Draw upon those experiences. Use what you have learned. Share and love with no limits, and others will do the same. Remember, you are the creator of your life. No more hiding, no more fence sitting, no more mask. The time is now. Shine brightly, attract the lights of others. Together you are a force, raising the consciousness of the planet. This is a time like no other. The masters live within you. You are all one. We are one. Lead humanity into the future with humility and love. You need not speak, for your silence resounds with knowledge. Who do you think you are? You are pure love. Give that love freely to all you come in contact with. You are magnificent. That's what you tell the children. The message is the same for everyone. Spread that message. Who do you think you are?
Thank you, Melissa. Would you like feedback?
Yes, sure.
I would like to start.
Patty.
What I heard you describing through your whole piece was the spiritual aspect of who we truly are. And the question, who do you think you are? It was kind of like trying to talk yourself into it at the beginning, and the voice out here, who do you think you are, is like when you as a, well, I don't even know how to use words to describe this. Like this voice is a controlling parent or a bully in school. Who do you think you are? And you're trying to use the words of who you really are, and it's in this content of fear. But as you talked, that voice became supportive of who you really are. And by the end of what you were reading, you weren't trying to convince yourself of that. You were acknowledging that's who you truly are. It was like seeing something be blurry and then come to clarity. And the voice actually being critical, like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Into supporting that question becoming, tell me more of who you really are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Next.
Melissa. I really liked your piece. It was very poetic. I noticed that you started out listing qualities of yourself that you couldn't necessarily control. You're a female, you're a woman, you grew up and you knew poverty in some ways, it sounded like. And then you dove deeper into the things on those parts that you choose and that you really experience as yourself, the presence. And I really loved the statement, you look at others like looking in a mirror. It really, there's like this little person dancing inside of myself, like, yeah, that's how we connect. That's that's a lovely thing. That kind of reminds me of this picture in the background, actually. That's wow. And the true you, and how you keep iterating different pieces of yourself, which ultimately ends up being we are all one. And then you affirm it in we are pure love, which is like homo amor universalis. Like, awesome. Thanks for sharing your writing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. I'll go. Or Lynn, you can go.
Okay. Mine was similar to Patty's. It seemed to me that you were going through all of the phases of the meaning, who do you think you are? All the way from your childhood of hard work, and then going into working with children and playing and creating and looking past things. And then in the end, the who do you think you are is that you now know who you are, instead of the many phases of what who do you think you are can mean. So that's what I got out of it. That was great. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, I thought it was great that you used the second person. That worked really well all the way through. And I loved how you began it with always a child struggling to grow up. Isn't that just the truth of it, right? Right there, what you're saying. Always a child struggling to grow up. And so many sentences that you wrote, a lot of them were said, wise old souls, you are exceptional. Every human on the earth is exceptional. Together you are a force. The masters live within you. You just keep writing, sister. You're writing wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine?
Yes, Melissa, I enjoyed it so much. When you said you were born in Maine, it sort of colored my whole listening because I'm from Maine. But I think that underneath it all, you are explaining how you have learned that the divine is within, and that you and God are one. And you were able to bring all those different experiences, even from a very young age, through to who you are now. And yes, perhaps we're still learning to grow up, but I think you express beautifully that you understand the divine within. And yes, keep on writing, girl.
Thank you.
Vicki?
Okay. Who do you think you are is one of those trigger questions that, like Patty said, a bully would ask you, an adult would ask. And I loved how you took it from what you were to what you want to be. I saw you leave behind what you no longer wanted or needed and become. And I felt like that I was in the presence of this wise woman that is a leader, and that I would love to hear much more of what you have to say and what you're thinking about, because you are magnificent. And that just, even when you just said that word, felt like it just raised everything you were saying. So thank you very much for sharing. And absolutely, we're all cheerleaders for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa?
For me, it's a question I'm always asking myself. I'm shy, And so when I want to do something, who are you to do that? Really? How could you possibly do that? Who are you to do that? Who do you think you are? And then I've been working on, I think this piece just showed how I've been working on getting out of that and moving into, wait, I know who I am. I'm you. And I'm you, and I'm you, and I'm you. And that's, we're all one here together. And so no matter what I do, I'm okay. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. So unfortunately, the time is over, but does anybody need to leave before we listen to Allie?
I do have to leave because I have to pick up my daughter at work.
Okay, well, blessing to your day, and it's all good, and thank you for being here with us. And just on a closing note, we'll meet next week, and then we'll have 1 week off, and then we'll start up again. So we hope to see you next week, Melissa.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Is everybody else here good to go for Allie? All right. Allie, do you want to read?
Sure.
All right.
Creating and living into a new norm. To step up to the podium and share your story. To lead. To lead in the sense that you support the growth of others as well as yourself. If we all wrote our stories down for everyone to read, maybe we'd stop comparing or putting others above ourselves. We're all here having our own unique experiences. Pen is the weapon I wield. The power of story flows through it. Cocked and loaded, trigger pulled, out pops a bouquet of beautiful words, gently falling, caressing the ears of onlookers, of listeners. It's up to us to direct the story. I choose to be a dynamic character on a heroine's journey, discovering writing as a tool, growing her voice day by day, so one day she discovers a power that was in her all along. Moving forward to the podium, to be vulnerable and honest in front of society, to display courage in a way that some might say is weak, but I say is invaluable. And that's my piece.
Thank you very much, Allie. Would you like feedback?
Sure.
All right. Who would like to go?
I'll go. That felt like a little bit more of who I'm seeing you to be. I mean, I only saw you last week and listened to what you wrote and talked to you a little bit today. But that to me gave me a really short little snippet of what an avenue that you have found to be powerful in the world. And it was kind of like the podium was the pen. and you're finding your voice through words and writing, and I can't wait to hear more of what you have to share.
Thank you, Patty.
May I go?
Christine, yep.
Could you repeat that line? Tracked and loaded out pops. It was a wonderful line. Could you repeat it?
Yeah.
Starting with pen is the weapon I wield.
Pen is the weapon I wield. The power of story flows through it. Cocked and loaded, trigger pulled, out pops a bouquet of beautiful words, gently falling, caressing the faces, the ears of onlookers, of listeners.
Thank you. That was magnificent. I just loved it. I'm not going to say any more. That was just great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
I can go.
Vicki?
I was also struck by that, and I loved what you said, but I love the contrast of it, because some of the words like weapons, pen, I'm wielding this pen, almost sounded menacing or threatening. And then cocked and loaded, out popped a bouquet of beautiful words, gently falling. And I love that contrast. Boy, you just kept me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know if we were going to go down one road or another, and you just kept balancing them back and forth. So the pen doesn't have to be something I fear. It can bring this beauty. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah, I can go next. It was just the whole storytelling. Obviously, you love stories. You love telling stories. You just love stories. And as I was doing it, I was having a hard time, because I would start to write something down, and then you would say something that I really loved. So I stopped writing and listened. And so I don't have a lot of words written down, many of the things that people already said and that sentence that you read, but just the stories and just connecting with people through stories and keeping your stories, what came to me is honest and alive. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn. So Allie, Barbara Marx Hubbard, she's always talking about declaring. And I feel like your piece was very much a declaration. Like, I've just witnessed you stepping into a whole new skin. Even though I'm with you and watching you over these last couple years, like this feels different. Something about it was just so potent. And so, yeah, Allie, woohoo! To lead so you support the growth of others as well as yourself. Step in front of the podium. The whole thing about the pen, I just want to steal it from you and write it down in my own work. I choose to be a dynamic.
Oh, Kristina, come back. We can't hear you right now, Kristina. Kristina?
No, can't hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Would you like to say anything?
Wait, can you finish? We didn't hear you after you started to say dynamic. That
I choose to be a dynamic character on a hero's journey. I wanted to wrap up my feedback to reflect that back to what I just heard Allie say and what we are all doing right now and always. Thank you, Patty. Allie, would you like to say anything?
It's fun. I heard a lot of listening in a lot of the other writing, and I feel like my writing was like the opposite in that way. It was finding an expression point. And I think that I've been focusing a lot of my energy on listening and on the empathetic side of myself. And now that I've been learning and really trying to put myself out there and finding a power to my voice, that question of who do you think you are is really resonant to me. I'm like, what do I have to stand on to say anything of power? What is my experience? And just being here just is powerful enough. And so learning that, and through writing, through just letting whatever arises come without judgment, and then reading it has really been powerful to the development of my own voice. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Allie. Are you complete?
I'm complete.
All right. So let us close. Thank you everyone for being here and for sharing from your heart and for reflecting back to each and every one of us. And again, we will meet next Tuesday. Next Wednesday. We'll have a week off, and let us bow to close. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
everyone.
much. Many blessings.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye.